Game changer.
Visionary technology now promises to end deadly diseases and gives us the key to immortality itself.
We knew that there was a way to intervene with aging at the genetic level.
DNA can absolutely help feed and heal this world across the board.
Spectacular new discoveries are revealing the true power of our genes. This is DNA, the next wave. DNA is the key software in our body that tells us how to grow and function.
All of your genetic material is stored in your DNA, and you have DNA in nearly every cell of your body. If I were to have a lot of DNA in a test tube, and I was to stick a glass rod into that test tube and pull it up, it would look like a really long, clear string.
Through deconstructing the complex strings of DNA codes, we can spot corrupted or mutated chemical letters. These mutations are the cause of many health problems we encounter in the future. Sequencing allows us to predict impending diseases and empowers individuals to adopt profound life changes.
You might actually choose to live your life differently, whether it's how you eat or the preventative care you seek.
Driving this new marvel of technology is the rapidly decreasing price of sequencing. Academic and commercial groups are joining forces to create an affordable way to screen our entire genetic code.
When we sequenced the first human genome, it took 10 years and cost nearly $3.8 billion. Now, you'll be able to sequence a human genome in one day for about $1,000. That difference is what's going to get this type of technology into every doctor's lab in the future.
A global network of people sharing genetic information has started to alter the face of medical research. It's an intriguing concept that's gathering momentum.
Knowing your DNA code and having everybody's DNA code in a database is actually what can really help us. Because at this point in time, there's still so much research that needs to get done. But it could start a revolution where we're all very comfortable sharing it in an anonymous way.
Sequencing could potentially cure billions of people around the world. For Alexis and Noah, this technology offers the second chance at life that the family has been longing for.
When we did get our DNA sequenced, it was painless. The blood just went through the machine, and it was just sequencing it strand by strand.
After analyzing Alexis and Noah's DNA data, researchers discover a shocking revelation.
They had found a genetic mutation in myself, a genetic mutation in Joe. Together, Noah and Alexis got both of these mutations in one gene.
Dopamine and serotonin, the essential chemicals that manage our brain and central nervous systems, are at dangerously low levels in the twins. This life-saving diagnosis enables the doctors to find a cure. The twins begin taking medication and never look back.
I could mentally and physically feel a change happening. Just being able to have the freedom to run, it was just an amazing feeling.
I could never probably jump. I would probably be in a wheelchair. I couldn't do many things.
To watch Alexis and Noah be able to play basketball, to be able to run, to be able to even go to dinner, we are so grateful, and we don't take anything for granted.
Alexis and Noah are one of the first in the world to be saved by DNA sequencing. But this cure is not without its cost.
When I think about all the invasive tests, all the dollars, all the time that was spent and all the pain that we went through, where DNA sequencing was a simple blood test and then some data and analytics.
In the future, our health problems could be mapped out at birth. But is every one of us truly prepared to predict our own future?
We're only scratching the surface of all the knowledge that we're going to obtain by studying the human genome.
As we consider the implications of this new wave of DNA technology, science is tempting us with the promise of another medical breakthrough. Superhuman life. A race to a new genetic frontier has started. Scientists are finding innovative approaches to gene expression profiling.
Gene expression in science is how a gene functions. When you activate a gene, it will make a protein. Gene expression is related to whether that particular gene is activated or inactivated, if you will, to make less protein.
Academic institutions and privately funded labs are harnessing the huge potential of this science.
The human genome is the book of life, and we have finally been able to understand what is written in this book of life.
And these breakthroughs are powering us towards a once impossible goal: identifying the sources of aging.
What we are trying to see now is whether we can actually slow down the aging process in such a way so that these age-related diseases don't happen early on. We are trying to delay the onset of these diseases as much as possible.
Meet Dr. Joseph Chang. As a chief scientist of a privately funded lab, he's dedicated his life to nutritional intervention for the war on aging.
I experienced in my lifetime the death of my father about 3 years ago. He never had a good quality of life for 10 years before his death. And I began to wonder, can a person maintain an optimal quality of life throughout his or her lifespan?
In these commercial labs, Dr. Chang is searching for a way his company can restore our bodies to a more youthful setting.
Through our scientific studies and to our research, we are beginning to understand there are certain groups of genes that are very important in aging. Instead of just talking about groups of genes, we thought by coining a term such as youth gene clusters, it would give a better definition of what we're trying to do in our research.
Within the clusters, he is looking for genes that regulate aging.
If you somehow change the gene expression profile of youth gene clusters, it has either a positive or a negative impact on biological aging.
He becomes interested in youth gene clusters related to mitochondria, tiny structures in our cells. These are miniature motors that fuel our bodies, maintaining our energy levels from cradle to grave.
Yeah, the mitochondria, like the battery, does drain over time. If we don't recharge the mitochondria battery, we won't have the energy needed to run the cell. And if the mitochondria doesn't function optimally, then these early signs of aging begin to appear.
Advancements in science enable Dr. Chang to probe at DNA's frontier. He's trying to restore mitochondrial function using gene expression technology.
So when we talk about resetting, we're not talking about structurally changing these genes. We are really resetting the activity or the gene expression profile of age-related genes. We're beginning to understand there is a certain gene expression profile that exists when you were in a very youthful state. But as you age over time, that gene expression profile changes. We want to make sure that a gene expression profile stays as close as possible to what you had when you were a 20-year-old.
On the other side of the world, partnering with Dr. Chang at a sister lab is Dr. Josh Zhu. He's using his knowledge of the natural world to battle aging with the most unusual of ingredients. The scientist believes that he is getting close to discovering the key to resetting mitochondrial gene expression with the help of a fungus called Cordyceps sinensis.
Cordyceps sinensis is a fungal product, a natural product. It's just similar to any kind of a mushroom.
But this is no ordinary fungus. In the wild, it grows on the heads of live caterpillars from a range of remote mountains in Tibet. After years of correctly formulating the right blend through a fermentation process, Dr. Zhu is ready to take Cordyceps sinensis out of the lab and begin observational studies to discover its true power. His studies have found that after taking Cordyceps sinensis, their exercise performance capability improved.
Cordyceps sinensis shortened recovery period and improved cardiovascular function.
Cordyceps sinensis drastically heightens endurance and energy metabolism and fights fatigue. The results indicate that Cordyceps sinensis could potentially counteract the strains of daily life that lead to aging.
We can see a Cordyceps sinensis not really just extend the lifespan, but healthy lifespan. We proved Cordyceps sinensis is really anti-aging herb.
Dr. Zhu's Cordyceps sinensis research is added to other blended ingredients to create Dr. Chang's anti-aging compound.
This is the first time ever where some of these natural ingredients, by using modern scientific methods, to demonstrate that it can actually extend lifespan.
Scientific experiments at academic and commercial labs show that our genes do not control our fate.
Our research is beginning to reveal the reality that the aging process is most likely a symphony that is being played in the body. And in order to play that symphony extremely well, you need an orchestra of genes being somewhat cooperating with each other to make sure that the aging symphony doesn't get out of tune.
Gene expression technology is revealing a path to healthier lives for all of us. But there is a catch. With the world swelling to over 7 billion people and many developing severe conditions in their later years, 2 experts are turning to mankind's closest relatives. And helping them is a tiny technological invention.
重新启动你的好奇心。
Most accidents, they go back and guess what happened.
开创电视界的先河。
We're gonna do what happened.
秘密将被公开。
We'll send you to the bottom. You're dead.
更多谜团将被解开。继续一同踏上大胆的发现之旅。绝对好奇，全新一季1月6日起就在 Discovery 频道。
Takeo 液晶显示器，真心体验。Takeo。
扭力活 GE Plus 葡萄糖胺液添加 MSM 配方升级，加量不加价。扭力活 GE Plus 葡萄糖胺液添加 MSM 配方升级，加量不加价。
开启新感官之旅。你看见真色彩吗？你的冰箱是左开还是右开？ 你吃得健康吗？你洗衣时是否使用太多水？你知道室内空气有多脏吗？ 你知道可以随时美肤 SPA 吗？你了解彼此塞住的困扰吗？我们的心有人回应吗？
欢迎回来。
Sharp 用心，科技变得更有心。你的全新感官体验，新感官，新家电。
Sharp。
mini 超低月付9999专案实施中，全车系月底前交车再获赠价值4万元大礼。
魔镜啊，镜，谁是世界上最美丽的女人？
就是皇后你呢。但是，美丽又有气质的是喝过利多的白雪公主。
我不是没气质。
请记住，气质让你更美丽。旺旺口袋包果利多。
灵感就在我们的四周，受到经验影响，经由文化雕塑，汲取过去的历史，并受到未来愿景的驱动。5则故事从韩国观点出发，每一则都充满独特灵感。南韩新世界，每星期日晚上9点，就在 Discovery 频道。
最受欢迎的8点终极职场最新系列来了。
I need this thing finished like now.
Oh my god!
People coming here and losing their fortune and losing their mind.
全新8点终极职场，每星期1至星期3晚上8点，就在 Discovery 频道。
In the next few decades, the world's aging population will increase like never before. It's a high-risk game with everything to play for. Can the aging process be improved? In private research labs, scientists are now working at the frontier of DNA age research. Dr. Richard Weindruck and Dr. Thomas Prola are using advances in gene expression profiling to discover how nutrients affect aging at a genetic level.
There is not a lot of difference from the control. So I would be surprised if there's much of an aging.
Dietary restriction has been demonstrated to produce a change in gene expression in a variety of species. When food is scarce, our bodies concentrate on conservation and become more efficient. Dr. Weindruck believes that the key to aging well lies directly in what we eat.
Caloric restriction seems to be the most potent dietary intervention to slow not only aging, but really in the quality of life.
Dr. Weindruck wants to conduct a long-term study on the effects of caloric restriction on gene expression in humans. But time's not on his side. This experiment would literally take a lifetime. His next best option is our cousin species with whom we share a similar genetic makeup: monkeys. In 1989, 76 healthy rhesus monkeys were divided into 2 groups. One group was allowed to eat freely, while the other was put on a ration diet. The results of his research have been published in prestigious scientific journals.
We gradually restricted the ones assigned to the caloric restriction group by 10% of the caloric intake for the first month, another 10% for the second month, and the third month began the final level of a 30% lowering of calorie intake.
This scientific research was without guarantee of any significant results. But Dr. Weindruck persisted.
rhesus monkeys can live up to 40 years. That's a long, long time to wait to get a result for an experiment.
But Dr. Weindruck and his team were determined to better understand the benefits of caloric restriction. Over the years, they monitored the monkeys and reviewed changes in health and signs of aging. After 2 decades of research, the results are stunning. The diet-controlled monkeys are healthier and living up to 20% longer. Results show that the caloric-restricted monkeys have an astonishing 3-fold decrease in age-related diseases. It's through gene expression profiling that scientists can determine how caloric restriction has improved the primate's aging.
The effects of caloric restriction are clearly dramatic. Finding that these effects occur in primates and therefore most likely also occur in humans is really a major breakthrough.
But there is a big obstacle. Because the research on monkeys takes so long, Dr. Prola and Dr. Weindruck decide to simultaneously work on gene expression in mice. This allows them to conduct more studies in a relatively shorter period of time. Dedicating decades of research work to a single experiment has been daunting, but now an even bigger challenge lies before them.
When you think about the fact that we use a large number of animals, these numbers quickly add up to hundreds of millions of data points.
The results are gathered together to create one of the world's largest aging and caloric restriction gene expression databases. With millions of genetic data points, a solution to accessing all this information is found in a single powerful database that employs cutting-edge gene chip technology. A powerful new tool in gene expression profiling. Each chip contains all 20,000 plus genes in the mouse genome. This database allows scientists to interpret their findings on a global scale.
The gene chip technology is basically a way to monitor the expression of thousands of genes at once.
This was the first study to use gene chips to study aging. This new technology provided a global view of gene expression activity.
I think without the existence or the development of gene chip technology, we will not have the tools to even begin to understand what all the genes do inside our body.
They're searching for nutrients that imitate the positive effects of caloric restriction, but without restricting calories. One compound that's proving to be successful in trials is a substance found in red wine, known as resveratrol.
What we're trying to do at LifeGen is to identify nutrients that have this ability of caloric restriction to change the activity of genes in a way that will slow down the aging process. So individual nutrients may have, on their own, mild effects, but when combined, we hope to find mixtures of nutrients that are going to have a much stronger effect.
I like to think that one day all of us can actually die healthy.
We are only beginning to understand the true power of our DNA as scientists embark on this next wave of genetic research. Using advances in human and animal genetics, researchers are now attempting one of the most daring discoveries of all time. At the University of California, Dr. Cynthia Kenyon dreams of finding a way to radically prolong our lives, creating a new age of superhumans. From her labs, Dr. Kenyon conducts pioneering work that goes against all the long-held perceptions of a human lifespan.
For a really long time, the aging was something that just happened. We just wear out, like an old car.
She's searching for the holy grail of genetic science, the real fountain of youth. Dr. Kenyon is looking for inspiration in the natural world, and she notices a key fundamental trait. All species of animals have very different lifespans.
Do different species age at different rates? Why does a mouse age and die in 2 years, and a human, 2 years, we hardly are started.
If Dr. Kenyon is able to identify and manipulate the gene that governs this lifespan, she might just be able to change the way we age forever. She believes that the key to our future lies in this tiny creature known as C. elegans, or the roundworm. They are just a millimeter in length, the size of a comma in a sentence.
C. elegans ages and dies in just about 3 weeks. So it's really easy to study them. And also it's very easy to manipulate their genes.
Despite their size, these worms have an important bond with humans, and it's all about our shared genetic code. DNA is the universal language of all living things. Worms might be one of the simplest organisms, but they share an amazing 50% of their genes with humans. Dr. Kenyon and her team start to experiment, randomly changing different genes within the worms to see if they can increase their lifespans.
You take the normal worms, you treat them with a chemical that at a low frequency will change the structure of the DNA.
The tests require a lot of patience with little guarantee of success, and not everyone is convinced by the investigation.
A lot of people didn't think that it would work. Pretty much the whole world thought that aging just happened. And so it was very hard to get anybody to come to the lab to do the experiment.
But she isn't your average scientist. Fired up by the chance to prove her detractors wrong, Dr. Kenyon and her team start lab tests on worms.
You couldn't hold me back because I was really very, very excited about this idea. And I thought there would be something really interesting. There's a whole network of genes that interact with each other. They control aging. And it was just waiting to be discovered.
Against all odds, the team makes an astonishing discovery. They identify a key gene called DAF2 that affects aging. By altering this one gene in the worm, they're able to dramatically change the life expectancy of the C. elegans.
It took them 2 days to age as much as a normal worm would age in 1 day.
The life patterns of the normal test worms compared to the DAF2 mutant worms are very different. The untreated group is sluggish and slow, while the mutants are bursting with energy and vitality. Dr. Kenyon and her team continue analyzing the new mutated worms, and what they find next is truly astonishing. Yet another gene that may play a role in aging. It's called DAF16, and it now multiplies the worm's life by 6 times.
And it was actually almost creepy. You would look at the plates of worms, and the normal worms, they'd be dead. There wouldn't be any worms. And these ones would still be moving, and you'd think, gee, they should be dead, but they're not, and they're moving around.
This new generation of mutants stay young, extremely active, and develop a superpowered resistance to diseases. It's the breakthrough Dr. Kenyon has been waiting for, and she's now using this knowledge to start the search for similar aging genes in humans. Technology is riding a wave of new genetic applications led by sequencing, which is changing the way we look at ourselves and the world around us. There's still so much more to uncover. Scientists have only just begun to rediscover that parts of our DNA once deemed junk, or not containing instructions for proteins, may actually hold key clues to how cells, tissues, and organs behave. The frontiers of genetic science could be rewritten. But for now, through genetic mapping, we are opening up a safer world where we can live healthier lives and cure illnesses that were once deadly.
DNA sequencing is being used to solve real-world problems today.
As we map out our future, we are now discovering genes do not govern our fate. The future is DNA.
下来有些地方。